Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome back to another great episode of Basscast Radio. I am your host, Brian Carter, and my co-host. I got both on with us tonight, man. We got Bass Geek and Thomas with Fishing. The DMV is back with us this week. And guys, for everyone who is watching us on YouTube, Mr. Brody Lucky is with us. If you guys haven't, for you guys who are local, if you don't know who he is, I'm sorry. He's the kid. He's the next Trey McKinney, second most hated kid in bass fishing. But we got him on the show. We're going to talk to him tonight, and the dude's tearing it up. 4 victories this year, Major League Fishing. That's the Phoenix Bass Fishing League, whatever the heck it is called. So many different names for stuff these days. But the dude has had a heck of a 2025, so we thought we'd bring him on and talk to him about his season. But before we dive into that, Geek, what is happening in your world? Guys, by the way, if you didn't check out last week's episode, it was a great episode. Even with Geek being in a car wash, watching the boat and the truck getting ready for a big event. Give us an update. How did that event go really quick? Then tell us about what all is going on in your world.
It went really good, man. It was a real good turnout. We shook some hands, kissed some babies, and hopefully it'll keep growing. It's like I said, when we talked last week, I come from pretty small town America, and it's we're in the Appalachian Mountains, man. There's a ton of outdoorsmen around, and we have to drive hours away to have anything like that. So
right.
We started it about 3 years ago, and I think it's a good thing, and I want to try and support it as much as I can. So I'd like to maybe kind of see them move it up a little earlier in the year, but right now I think as we grow, it's a good little summertime event.
You bring it up is correct. I caught up with Tiger Crankbaits down James River when I went down to cover Brody right there in his win, and he told me he just did a show like a week ago or 2 weeks ago or something like that. So I was like, they're still going on, and it's
like, man, they never stop. I think there was one in Nashville or Memphis,
and that's pretty freaking awesome, to be honest. Yeah. So, any cool highlights? Anything anything that you saw different this year, or anything cool, extra, or anything of that nature?
No, it's a lot of I don't hunt, so there's a lot of hunting stuff there.
Yeah,
I've seen a guy with a really cool owl call that he makes himself, but I don't know. Yeah. I mean, I don't know a whole lot about that. So, but I mean, it was a cool little event. A lot of different stuff. Small bait makers, local. Gun shops, hunting, different things. So
I know
that's all I do.
I know we're about a couple weeks out from the Green Top. They do their hunting event each and every year, and I know we're a couple weeks out from that, and that's a really big thing. There's your plug, Green Top. But you guys need to check it out. Me and Danielle have driven down there before, checked it out, and hung out with a bunch of different people, so it's pretty cool. It was mainly, like I said, it was probably 95% hunting, maybe a little bit of fishing involved into it. But video-wise, what is happening? You're able to get caught back up from the vacation?
We're getting there. If you want to see the video, it should be dropping here in the next week or so. We've got a really good late summer jig video. We just dropped a video talking about how I always say, everybody always tells you to downsize in the summer and in clear water and tough conditions. And I've just always did the exact opposite of that. And it pays off because everybody dink-a-links a little stupid green worm around. And, the fish see 82 of those. So why not show them something a little bit bigger? They like a nice fat steak instead of a whiny sausage.
Also, guys, I was bringing up earlier, like I said, if you haven't checked out or watched last week's video, please check it out. It was actually a really good show. Even with, like I said, Geek being in a car wash, getting everything cleaned up, ready for that expo. And him and Mike, the man, making it happen. Thomas, your world boss, man, how are things going? And I saw you had a really cool video with a Smith Mountain Lake man that you did your Monday nighter.
Oh, Billy. Yeah, I'm putting out more episodes than there are chapters in the Bible right now. August, because I cover the Chesapeake Bay as well. We had a great cobia episode. I didn't know like all the ins and outs about that. They're dropping jigs, like it's wild. And there's cobia tournaments. Didn't know that. And they're competing for $100,000 on the bay. It's
Wow.
cool that you don't realize it's not just bass fishing that has like all the money in it. And so it's neat to see different kind of perspectives on that stuff. So that's fun. Just keep cranking out the content, and fun to talk to our guest today.
Yeah, you guys all know, I mean, like you're talking about the cobia, and then if you guys travel down to Bugs Island, they got that big catfish tournament, and they do like 1 or 2 or 3 of them a year, and we're talking about a lot of money in them things right there. So there's so much going on. I know there's the season, I guess tournament season's kicking back up here in the next couple of weeks around here. The cat schedule came out this week for their fall. Don't forget the basscast.com kicks back up in October. You got to fish 3 out of the 5 to qualify, and you still have 3 in the fall to qualify. We kind of make it so if you don't want to fish the summer, you can fish the fall with us. We would love to have you. Everything is on the basscast.com. 2025 tournament schedule. Just click the link. You fill it out. You prepay. You fill out your release. You do it. You do it all right there. And I really, really loved it since COVID. I mean, it was nice. It was nice to kind of have an idea what the payout was going to be on the day of the event, how many people are registered, and you guys could just go online and take care of it yourself. And there's no paper trail. It's all on my laptop, iPad, computer, whatever. So the basscast.com 2025 tournament schedule. I know a bunch of other cat schedules came out this week. Last week, guys, the Major League Fishing Toyota Series. Is that what it was? No, it's Tackle Warehouse Series schedule came out. So we had that drop, and we got some changes to that coming this year. Do you want to talk about that for a minute, anybody? Because that's, that was a really big change, 100%, payback on, doesn't matter how many boats. The contingency money is guaranteed. They're doing a whole lot of stuff to try to bring this thing back around because they had lost a lot of anglers.
I mean, you want to keep this show underneath an hour. We might not want to talk about that too, because
that might be a show in and of itself.
Even what you follow King, whatever the hell your name is, you know who you are, talking about Garmin allegedly bribing bass for the
release.
That could be a whole show topic there, because it's the comments.
We have actually, thing about
Wheeler
it, Thomas, me and you have actually brought that up.
Yeah, we did. We brought it up where it's like
you brought that up.
People are upset about allegedly a company wanting to pay them money to use their product. And it's just such a weird, they want you to grow the sport, but then if a company's like, allegedly, I'll give you $1 million, but we got to use our product. It's like, oh, that's no good for the sport. It's like, which one do you want? Do you want the money, or do you not want the money and keep it pure? Because you can't ask Garmin for $1 million and, by the way, fuck you and your products. Like, that's just not how the world works at all. So I don't know.
I agree.
And for you guys who don't understand, I mean, if you don't understand, even my company has people that go to Congress all the time and, beg for money and contracts and all this stuff. This is nothing new. I mean, it's nothing. It happens every single day, from Microsoft to Google to, they have we have one person, one lady, and that is all her job is to do is just sit in White House in Washington and so I get a paycheck. And it's happens all over the world. So for you hearing about Garmin, Lowrance, Humminbird, allegedly, whoever it was, whatever it was, paying Bass X amount of money, it's been going on forever. I mean, hell, I had to give, shit. When I was brand new, I gave Bass Nation of Virginia $150 in T-shirts to put my banner up. I mean, what's the difference? I mean, I didn't have any money. I bought product. I gave them product. I gave the product away, gave them giveaways. So, we're just talking about millions, though.
It's a snake eating its own tail. It's just fascinating. Again, we can beat this horse to death because, hell, Randy Block made a career out of it. Why can't we? But it is. We'll save that for another show or another channel where we're not afraid about getting demonetized. So
I don't make enough to worry about that, to be honest.
You're like, joke's on you. We're poor.
Yeah.
We can talk about whatever the hell we want.
My whopping 4 Patreon members and that little bit of money that I make through Spreaker, hell, it don't even pay for the gas. So I don't think I'm that worried about it yet. I think, if it is what it is. All right, guys. Tonight, guys, we got Mr. Brody Lucky in the house. first of all, thanks for coming on the show. Really appreciate you taking the time to do that tonight. Guys, he's coming off his 4th win. We'll get it right tonight. I had to redo the video twice the other day, but 2 on Smith Mountain Lake, 2 on the James River. Very consistent year for you, brother. How you feeling coming off the big win? I think you said, I saw a clip. Saturday was what your largest bag you ever had on the James River, or one of your largest bags is over 20 some pounds.
Yeah. I think it was 21.6, and that was
21,
by far the largest bag I've ever had on the James. Before that, it was my other win at 18. So, just fish are biting during the tournament day for me, and putting bigger bags than I've ever had on that place. And for a number of years, it kicked my butt. So to finally figure it out and get the ball rolling has been awesome.
Before we dive into tournament talk or just talk period, give everybody a little bit about yourself. And we all know you went to Liberty University. Did you fished with the LU team as well, I believe? Yeah,
I fished with LU. We did some tournaments around here, fished a national championship down in Florida, did quite a bit of traveling, and had some good tournaments, had some bad tournaments. Didn't have a lot of funding there at the time, so we didn't fish quite as much as I wanted. But now I'm fishing the Toyotas as well as the BFLs. Quit my job back in January to try to pursue this full time. And, ever since then, it's been good. Several top 10s in the Toyotas, made the championship, made the Bass Nation championship as well. And, just trying to keep the ball rolling.
Yeah. If you guys haven't seen, by the way, it's a little side note. If you haven't seen Bass Nation schedule, it just came out. Next year's only be 1-day events in 2026. They've gone away with the 2-day events to try to get more people to show up. So, now you just pay for your. Go ahead, Thomas. Now you just pay for your Friday night. If you go up early and practice, you fish Saturday and you're done. You know what? I kind of don't like it. I won't be honest. I don't like it because, especially on a lot of bodies of water, I've seen so many anglers be inconsistent between the 2 days.
Right.
I've seen so many. And the reason why you are fishing Bass Nation is really for that prize. If you're fishing, you're wasting time if you're fishing it for the money. You are fishing Bass Nation of Virginia to potentially go to the Bass Nation Championship and then go to the Bassmaster Classic. Right. That's what it's really about. I mean, because if you really wanted just to say, if the money or make money, hell, there's Cat Championship that pay like $25,000 to the winner after contingencies. I mean, there's so much other stuff out there. So I think you really want the best of the best. Anybody can have a 1-day luck.
Yeah,
it's true.
That's only 5 bites. I mean,
that's it.
Yeah.
And, I've seen so many anglers have that 1-day luck on Saturday, suck on Sunday. But this is proven, if I want you, it'd be like me picking you for dodgeball. I want the best players on my dodgeball team. We've all seen the movie. We want the best players. You would want someone who could put 2 days together and come out with the win, or at least be consistent both days enough to get the win. Thomas, you had a comment. Go for it.
Yeah, I think the whole system is just messed up to hell. They're trying to find a scapegoat for what it is. It's not the forward-facing sonar. It's not the co-angler. It's the R word, which is recession. It's the economy sucks right now. It's tough, and they don't want to say the quiet part out loud. I mean, Brian, we had on the guy that runs all the BFLs, and it's like 2 guys in the back room that have to figure out where 5 trailers go in the United States of America.
Oh, yeah.
So it's logistics and how do you cut costs? That's what it is. But it's just like in politics, you can't say the logical, coherent thing. You got to just blow smoke. And same thing in bass fishing.
But 1 day, that's cool. I'll go down. I'll cover the 1 day. I know they're going to do some river next year, some more river, I think, and then Smith Mountain Lake, Bugs Island, or Lake Gaston. I looked at the schedule real quick, but I just think I like the 2 day. I like picking the best of the best. I want the best of the best on my team. You're going against the best of the best. The question I want to know, I guess, regarding that is everyone else going to a 1-day tournament? Did it get approved to go? Is everyone else doing the 1-day tournament as well? Because you figure when you go to a Bass Nation Championship, you're probably fishing against 5 or 6, 7 different states, based on however they have their quadrants and all that stuff lined out. So if you are going to go, you did great, won a tournament, made the team, made the state team, and then you're going to fish against that quadrant and then go fish the championship and, all the tiers that you have to fish to make it to the Bassmaster Classic. Do we think we're giving ourselves a little disadvantage by making it a one-day event? I know it's to save money, gas, food, whatever it is, but these boys, I don't think that's it. I watch these guys lay down credit cards. I mean, we were talking right after COVID, right after all the crap that happened then. We were going down there. Me and you both have English Choice shirts on, Brody.
Yep.
Those sponsor me.
Yeah, they're with me as well. Yeah.
My $50,000 boat was still sitting there, and $520,000+ boats had sold on them damn things. So it ain't about the money. I mean, it's not about the money because they're willing to lay it down. I mean, they'll sleep in the back of the truck for the dream. And I know Forestwood Cup winners past, I know that's past, and Red Crest winners have slept out of the back of the truck for the dream. So I mean, you do what you have to do, but you want the best equipment, and I figure you want the best anglers as well.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, on the James River this past week, I was sleeping in the back of my truck. I actually blew my transmission on my truck on the St. Lawrence. Yeah, my truck's still up in Messina right now. Yeah, it's. I'm actually going to fly up there Sunday, bring it back to Maryland. My dad's going to meet me with the boat. We're going to start practice for the Potomac. But yeah,
Wow.
Yeah, for some reason the St. Lawrence just likes to eat through equipment. Between the long runs, long drive, long everything. Day 2, I actually had my motor run out of oil and went into limp mode. I had to hand off my fish. So, yeah, it just felt like everything was breaking up there.
Wow.
Yeah. But, I slept in the back of the truck, back to your point, and slept at campground, $50 a night, saved a lot of money on stay and, helps keep that dream alive instead of spending all my money staying in a nice fancy hotel or Airbnb.
Yeah, for you guys to know, I have a rooftop tent. That was my 50th birthday gift to me. Before that, my last Toyota 4Runner, I dropped down both seats, threw an air mattress in the back, and that's where I slept. I had a fan, a Jackery, which is a battery pack, everybody, and that's where I slept. It's $30 a night. I figured to stay in these crack whore motels for $135, I can buy a lot of food with that extra $100.
Yeah.
Or gas. Mm-hmm. Or snacks for $100 compared to that. And I love staying in state parks and taking care of them. But Brody, man, talk about this career and how it all kind of started for you and how we got to this point of, deciding to make the jump into fishing these larger and bigger events.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I'll go back to last year, had a decent year, got one win and had some other top tens, made the Toyota Series Championship last year. And, while working a job, so not getting very much practice at all for any of these events. And, I kind of looked at it. I was like, okay, I don't have a family relying on me. I don't have, house payment. I'm still living with my family. My truck's paid off. And, if I'm going to go chase this dream, now's the time to do it. So, I sat down with my family, had a discussion and, they've been amazing in supporting me. My dad travels with me. I like to say he's my personal mechanic. He's very handy with everything. And we split costs of housing, and a lot of other costs. And so it just made sense to go for it. And yeah, ever since then, it's been a phenomenal year and, just been fishing as hard as I can, staying on the water, staying sharp, and just learning all these fisheries that I've never been to. And it's been phenomenal.
How many days, spitball, you think you spent on the water from a year from today? And it doesn't have to be like an exact.
Right. I would say, I guess a year from today, probably 150 to 180 days on the water, give or take. Yeah. And, when I'm not fun fishing a lot, trying to save money, but I am getting a sufficient amount of practice, especially for these places that I've never been. Like I put in a good week at the St. Lawrence because that was my second time ever on Northern Smallmouth and the first time ever on St. Lawrence. And, I knew that, especially on a place like that, that'll be on schedules later down the road. So, I wanted to get a good understanding, a good realization of, okay, this is how the fish set up, this is how they move, and just get to experience all the different conditions that I might encounter in a tournament throughout that full week. And so, not only did it help me do well in the tournament, but I feel like it's going to help me down the road as well.
And just for people just to understand that, we're going to do some quick math here. So there's 52 weeks in a year times 2 for a weekend. That's like 106 Saturdays and Sundays in a year. So you're blowing past what if you are here with a, like a stupid wife and kids, that means you spend every single weekend for a whole year out on the water plus a couple of days. So just that's impressive.
Yeah.
And it's definitely taken the resources, like, you look at it and like, oh, I want a lot of money this year, but a lot of it's gone in expenses. It's eaten me up for sure. So, I've been looking pretty hard for some paying sponsors, and I'm sure you guys know as well as I do, it's really hard to find ones that are willing to fork over some cash. I mean, there's a lot of guys that be like, oh, here's my crankbait, go throw it, and, that's all well and good. I'll take your crankbait and give it a try, but, it doesn't pay the bills at the end of the day. So, yeah.
Yeah, you can't put that in the tank of the boat or the truck and drive down the road or lake with a crankbait or a rod. So.
Right.
If you can melt them down, that'd be awesome.
Yeah, if I could turn them into gasoline, I would.
Yeah.
You talk about the time on the water and the time you spent. I mean, I know you talked about this past weekend's event. You've probably practiced about 3 days, if I remember correctly, what you told me.
Yeah.
The time on the water, how, if we threw forward-facing sonar out, you're breaking down bodies of water and learning new bodies of water. How is that, come? Is it easy for you, or have you had to build a certain pattern to help you break down a new body of water or break down a new location?
Yeah. So basically, I've gone with this one process, and it's helped me all over the country. I like to identify, okay, how is everyone else catching them? What type of stuff are they fishing? What are they throwing? Everything like that. And then once I determine how to do that and I can do what they're doing with it, then I look at the minor details and say, okay, how can I do it slightly different? How can I make a subtle change? How can I make just a minor adjustment to what they're doing to where maybe the fish haven't seen it before? Maybe that's going from a 1/2 ounce drop shot weight to a 3/4 to get a reaction strike. Maybe that's going to a lighter jig head and minnow than everyone else is throwing, or maybe a bigger, smaller one. Maybe a weird color that they're not used to seeing. But yeah, I mean, just there's so much a wealth of knowledge on the internet now that you can go and see. I mean, because these guys will tell you exactly how they're catching them, what they're looking for.
Oh, yeah.
So, you take that and you say, okay, everyone knows this, though. Everyone knows to throw a 3/8 ounce green pumpkin chatterbait. Okay, what if I go up to a 1/2, so when I snap it through the grass and kill it, it causes a reaction strike? I mean, just little things like that, to kind of change the idea and what everyone is normally doing, and just, tweak it a little bit in my own way.
What is harder for you to practice for when you look at your success on lakes compared to tidal? Personally, from what I've seen, like tidal is so unique because it seems like you have to practice an area through all the tide flow to get really an understanding of that. I mean, once you have an understanding of an area, it's easy, but it's that initial learning curve I feel like is difficult. I mean, do you see the same thing, or what is your experience?
Yeah. So what I've kind of done in the tidal fisheries is, everyone says, run the tide, run the tide, run the tide. And I've just gone complete opposite of that. And I know, not being a local in these tidal fisheries, I don't understand how to run the tide as well as these locals do. They'll pull up and be like, oh, I got to make 3 casts here, and then I'm going 20 minutes up the river. Like, I know as big of a fishery as a lot of these tidal are, I'm not going to figure that out. So I've more of adopted I'm going to understand this one area that I'm confident has big fish in it, and understand it so well that on every tide, I can know what they're doing. So if the tide moves up and, I've got some hydrilla that's, kind of shallower during low tide, once it rises up and they can get in there, I know that they can get in there, and I move up with them and capitalize on it.
Where do you think that came from? That old adage of like, you have to run the tide? Because at least from all the people I've talked to, maybe 1/5 actually are successful actually doing a milk run. The most people that I see that cash checks, or if you look at the tackle warehouse tour, the people are like, dude, I'm just camping because I'm in AOI contention, and they end up making it to the final day because they didn't gamble too hard.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I think it's a local thing. And if you can, because everyone asks the locals, how to fish a certain place. I don't go to Smith Mountain and ask a guy from the Potomac how to fish Smith Mountain. And if you are a local on the James or the Potomac and you do understand how to run the tide, it's probably a really good thing to do, and if you can time it correctly, it's a great way to, maximize your time on the best tide. But unless you are one of those locals, it's just, either you got to be extraordinarily good at understanding how the tide works quickly, in your 1 to 5 days of practice, or it's just better to hunker down in an area.
The high risk, high reward thing. Yeah, I agree with that. Sorry, Brian.
No, you're good. The Tackle Warehouse series was up there this year, and I got to interview and hang out with a lot of the anglers. I think I stayed the weekend, the last couple of days, and even some of the best anglers in the world said, I just like you were saying, I want to be consistent, so they stay close by. They knew they could catch enough fish. They couldn't catch the giant fish, the 5 or 6, 7 pounder they needed, but they knew they would have enough money, or not money, but enough weight to just cash a check or make it to the next level if they needed to make it to for that weekend. A lot of people do make that run. How important is that run, or how important is the run to, because a lot of people how long does it take you to get to, I'm lost my track here, but yeah, the Chick. Yeah. I mean, it's like an hour run, isn't it?
About 40 to 45 to get to the mouth, but if you want to go midway or back, it's an hour at least.
So how important is that for those lunkers? And what do you think is it that the Chick is holding these lunkers compared to the rest of the James River?
Yeah, I mean, I think throughout the James River, there's big ones everywhere, but I do think there's more of a consistency of big ones in the Chickahominy. I mean, there's a lot of fish that were big brought out of the Chickahominy, but I mean, I think, back when they stocked those F1s in there, they, they've had babies and their babies have had babies, and, there's a variety of different age groups of F1 bass in there that, they grow quicker, I think, especially down there, as healthy as it is. I mean, right now I was seeing bait balls on the surface everywhere. I was having fish coughing up bait fish this long, they were eating really good down there. And I think they grow quicker down there, and maybe chip oaks as well.
So is there a specific, before you've gone to, a certain fishery, are there a certain set of tools that you use? What is it that you do to identify an area or 2 or 3 areas? What is the process for you to locate areas that you want to spend time in practicing? How much time do you actually spend in those areas that you located before you get there, before maybe making changes or saying, this is where I'm going to be?
Yeah, I'm huge with side scan and mapping. So I'll sit there, maybe the night before or whatever, and for hours just look at the map. And especially in these tidal deals, like, okay, how does the current hit this place when it's going out? How does it hit when it's going in? What areas are going to have enough water? And based on that, I'll put a mark on my unit and say, okay, hit this at 10 o'clock. Because, looking at the tide chart for tomorrow, that's when it's going to be the last 2 hours of outgoing or whatever, And so I know I'm maximizing my time, but, also with the side scan, I graphed on the side scan. The first time I went to the James, I found a lot of the stuff I ran this past time as well. And I think I graphed for over 10 hours on side scan, just getting the layout of where the grass edge was, where maybe some offshore structure was. Stuff that maybe doesn't get fished quite as often, little hard spots that aren't quite as prolific, that are easily going to get overlooked if you don't side scan, that you won't see on live scope.
Do you do any sort of research as far as like identifying where tournaments have been won? You use any sort of tools, YouTube or anything else that maybe other people do or don't?
Oh yeah, I watch a lot of YouTube. I like to see. I love it when they have a Bassmaster event and you can watch Bassmaster live and they show you the map of where everyone was. It's like, okay,
Yeah.
and you'll notice 5 of the 10 guys that were in the top 10 are over here. So they may not be on those same spots, but there are good groups of fish within that area somewhere. And I'll usually start in those areas. That doesn't mean I'll always, stay in those areas. But, I also like to use Google Maps, especially the feature where I can go back in time.
Yeah.
Look at a drought, when the water's low. I get to see, structure that was out of the water, flats that are out of the water that you couldn't tell if it was 3 feet or 10 feet, on a flat. And just, especially when that water's low, you can just see everything that, it would just be guessing otherwise.
You guys know that I think Lowrance now you can download the app to your phone, and you can actually go and sit on your phone and scroll down a lake.
Yeah.
So
how do you like to organize your GPS unit?
Yeah, so I have 2 different things. Like for my waypoints anyway, I use color and then I use an icon, and then I can't stand when people just put a waypoint and put a waypoint and put a waypoint. Like you don't know what it is,
Yeah.
And I like using the color because when I zoom way out, and let's say I'm running down the lake and I just ran 3 brush piles and caught a fish on every one, I can zoom out, see the green, and just pull up, hit the green, hit the green. Or I do red for rock piles, and if I have roaming fish, I do blue and put a little fish emoticon, and just that way I can keep everything organized. Because if you got 50 waypoints and you're in a pinch situation in a tournament and you look at them and you're like, you can't make that decision quick of, I know what this is, I know what that is.
Right.
You'll spin yourself out real quick, waste an extra 10 minutes trying to remember what it was.
What graphs? What's your setup as far as graphs on your boat?
Yeah, so I got a 16-inch NBT in the front that connects to my Garmin. It's the 86 in the back there, and then I run 2 Hummingbirds for my mapping and side scan.
Interesting.
Yeah, and I love the Hummingbird mapping. It's awesome, and side scan's hard to beat too. I mean, I've found all kinds of crazy stuff. I've found boats. I've found old wrecks. So it's the crazy what we don't know is under the water. And
why did you decide to go with NBT?
It's cheaper,
Yeah.
I think, and I've noticed the pro anglers have been switching to the 16-inch for their forward facing in the front. And it's a great size. I had originally the 22, and it was just too much to look at. The guy who I bought the boat off of had it on there. And I was, I'm trying to look back and forth, trying to see what's going on, and you kind of just want to keep one field of vision. That way you're not overwhelmed with how big your picture is. So yeah, bump down to the 16, and it's like half of what a 16-inch Garmin would cost.
Yeah.
And it's the exact same picture coming from the back. So yeah, I mean, it's by far the most cost-effective way to go about it and still get a pretty good size screen.
You heard it here. 22 is too big.
Wow. There you go. Finally, we know. So what's switching from the tidal fisheries, because I'm a Highlands angler myself. What's the difference, and what are some things you're looking for in a more Highlands reservoir like Smith, Smith Mountain and that sort of stuff?
Yeah,
that a little differently.
Right. Yeah, it's. As far as Smith goes, I don't like to be in the gin clear water, so I typically find those areas that are like kind of like that greenish color, just because those fish are so smart in that clear water. I like to chase roamers around a lot on Smith, but I also like to fish docks as well. I think the first tournament I won, I didn't even scope one. Caught them all fishing old-fashioned way, and then day 2 I caught them all scoping. So, it's just one of those things that those fish move so much. So instead of like the tidal fisheries where you kind of hit a spot again and again and again, I'm, hitting 60, 70 spots in a day. Oftentimes, I'm the run and gun, move as fast as I can, cover as much water because I know it's going down somewhere. I just got to land on it. For instance, like, if I'm looking for roaming fish, I'll pull in 7, 8, 9 pockets and see 2 or 3, and then I'll pull in another one and see 60. And, and that's the deal. So, but as far as docks, like just looking for understanding, a pattern, how it sets up, and, understanding your topographics under the dock, flatter docks versus steeper docks, shallow, deeper, and once you figure out what type of dock they're using, typically if you run enough of them, you're going to get bit. It's just a law of averages with that. So just playing those 2 games is what usually gets it done for me on those highland fisheries.
So when you're chasing those roamers, do you have a certain, and you don't have to give anything away, but a certain bait or size that you're kind of always starting with, or are you trying to more match the hatch, so to speak, size-wise?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely want to match the profile of the bait, but at the same time, if everyone's throwing a 4-inch bait, I might bump up to something big, or I might bump up down to something really small. I just, try to keep it different from what everyone else is doing. Even if you're seeing a lot of 4-inch bait fish, I mean, you see all the freeloaders, all the mooch minnows, all those baits, and they're all the same size. Don't get me wrong, they catch fish, but, you've a fish 100 times, see a 4-inch minnow, and then all of a sudden a 6-incher rolls by. He might do a little less thinking, a little more reacting. So, just putting those, changing those variables up a little bit, like I talked about earlier, just making it a little different.
How much do you get into the vertical shake versus the horizontal roll?
So it depends on where I'm at. I think clear water, you kind of want to play keep away a lot of the time, just especially when they're smart. I have a certain way I shake my minnow that I don't really like to talk about. Figured out, and it's been phenomenal. It changed how I fish a minnow. Learned it off of Hayden Obar. My dad was a co-angler with him, and learned it off of him, and that's been great. And but yeah, I mean, the farther they can see, the more you want to play keep away is my typical rule of thumb there.
And I think a lot of this, when you get into the weeds like this, you got to get out in the water and trial and error. Like when you said the 4-inch bait, the only way you're going to know that is if you experiment. And I think a lot of people, when they try to learn fishing, they get so dead set on one thing and trying one thing versus going out there and experimenting. Because, no matter what happens, these stupid little fish keep throwing curveballs of what they want when they want it. And yeah, you want to jiggle it this way, but then 5 days later, they might be like, yeah, F that, I'm not going to eat it that way. And if you're not willing to just experiment on the water, you're not going to be consistently successful.
Oh yeah. Yeah. And, having multiple rods rigged up with the same type of technique is huge. I mean, you see all these pros with 20 rods in their deck and they have so many, they got to put them in their side seat because they don't have enough room, and you can't tell me that every one is a different bait, So, when I'm, fishing roamers, I've got like 4 or 5 different minnows on. I'll have a spy bait on.
Wow.
I'll have a glide bait on,
like a spy bait guy. Yes.
Yeah. And, maybe even a little Japanese twitch bait I like to throw too. And the fluke, and just all these different ways to do the same thing, and the more options you have, the more things you try, the quicker you can get dialed in.
You were talking earlier, for you guys that don't know, the Smith Mountain Lake event this year, they did the Piedmont and the Shenandoah back to back. It was a scheduling issue. Actually, I liked it, but it was a scheduling issue.
I was fine with it.
And you were happy with it. And Brody ended up winning both of them. But day one, you said you didn't use for FFS at all, and day two, you kind of went. If you use it just lightly, but day two, you kind of went all the way in. Yeah. Was there a reason? Was it because the lake got beat up so bad on the first event that you went harder on the FFS, or was it a reason why you kind of went a little bit more harder on FFS on day two?
Yeah, so day one, I started with it, and it was not working. I wasn't running into the fish I needed to run into. I'd hit like 10 different spots within half an hour, like drop trolling motor, look, nope, go, drop it, go, and it just wasn't happening. And the fish I was finding were acting really, really off. They weren't acting right. So, switch gears, put that rod away, went up shallow, and last 15 minutes caught an 8-pounder that sealed the deal. But
Wow.
skipping a Cinco, But yeah, that 8-pounder was the coolest bite I've ever had in my entire life. I mean, yeah, I was throwing a big swim bait, like a big one, not, like big, and skipped it under the dock. Fish follows it out. It comes up on it, gets right behind it, and then doesn't eat it. And I'm like, no, that's the one I needed. 15 minutes left, and it comes back up next to the boat. So I start figure eighting it like a muskie. I went twitch, twitch, twitch. And on the third twitch, she lunged forward, smokes it, lead her around, lead her back right, Collingler nets her up, and went from 17 to, I think, whatever I had to win, 21, something like that.
Yeah. So I've got to ask, when you say big, 9, 12, 14?
Yeah, that 9, 10-inch range, it was a pretty big bait. And
so I tell people all the time, if you're going to do it, I swear to God, just get 9-inch. Don't bother with the 6-inch. Maybe if you're around smallmouth, 7 inches. But, yeah, just don't even bother. Don't buy them. Don't waste your time. If you really want to get into big swim baits, it's the 9, 10, 12 inches minimum. Go get them.
Yeah. And I knew I needed a big bite then. And, I was like, I might as well swing for the fence and try to win because, what's the point in catching a 3.5 that'll call a 3 1/4, So, yeah, fishing to win there for sure.
2025, man, what a season, dude.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, holy cow. What all is left for you this season?
Yeah, I got the Potomac Super Tournament. I got a shot at Angler of the Year for that. And then I'm just going to stay there and practice even more and fish that Toyota. And then I'm going to head out west to fish the Bass Nation Championship. And then I got the Toyota Series Championship on Grand. And might fish a little local tournament or two after that, but that's pretty much it. I got the regional. Yeah, I got the regional on the James as well.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Have you had a chance to think about next year yet? About what your plans are? Are you thinking about going to Toyotas or something else like that?
Yeah, I'm leaning towards the Opens. I think I'm going to take my shot at the Opens and, really, push hard for that.
Why?
I just like where it can get you. I might reconsider with the invitationals payout changing and all that, but I just looked at it before and it was just terrible. It made no sense. And I'd fished the Toyotas the last 2 years, done really well, made championship both years. And I wanted something now that could get me somewhere, like the Toyotas get you the invitationals, but they give everyone an invite to the invitationals. So those aren't getting you anywhere. The invitationals aren't paying very good. So I don't know about fishing those. So I'm like, well, maybe I should try the Opens, It
really blows my mind that they restructured the invitationals because I really thought that they would end up just doing away with that series completely. So it amazes me they're spending the time and money to kind of resuscitate that tour.
Yeah, and we'll see what happens with it. Like I said, I'm not completely decided, but I definitely want to fish at that next level next year.
Yeah, it really would. Boyd, if you're listening, should have just done what they did at the NPFL. Just kind of cookie cutter it, make it a couple of events. If people want to buy in to do it, have good payouts, and just be done with it. Because the NPFL proved if you have those top tier tournaments like that, people will pay to join.
Oh, absolutely.
Why do you always have to complicate the most obvious solution? That always blows my mind. But that's what it is.
Yeah.
Is there? Like you said, there's still more season left for you. But is there a moment that kind of helped that you think, looking back, that helped propel this season right here for you, 2025? A commitment you made, or I know you quit your job and you committed 110%, but is there something, something that kind of clicked for Brody that, boom, come out the gate and, heck of a season since?
Yeah. I started my season off on Pickwick and got a top 10 there. I had a really good shot of winning it until a cold front hit. I was catching all my fish shallow. and I had left them alone at 11 a.m. with almost 27 pounds, and you know, I had a good chance to win it, and that kind of proved to me like, okay, I do have the capabilities to fish a place I've never fished before and have a shot to win. And that kind of gave me the confidence, going through the rest of the year, trust my gut, trust my instincts. If I feel like I need to leave, I should leave. I shouldn't second guess myself, and, just kind of trusted my instincts, and it's been a really good season.
All right, we're going to wrap it up here, man. Anybody else got a question for Mr. Brody Lucky here? Go ahead.
How much do you find yourself using your scope up shallow? Not just for those open water fish.
A lot. Yeah, because it's something that only someone with good understanding of forward facing can do.
Yeah.
Like a lot of people like to say it's plug and play, and it's easy. It's definitely not.
No.
And I've had to go through different transducers, send them back, like make sure it's absolutely perfectly dialed in. I've figured out how to scope fish in 2 feet of water.
Yep.
Where people can't see them, and people wouldn't even think to try to do.
Yeah.
But, because I can do that, I can cover more water and show them baits that, they're not seeing,
I think I told somebody the other day that I figured out how to, they said, how shallow do you scope? And I was like, I could see a weightless 5-inch Cinco 50 feet away.
Yeah.
3 foot or less.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
it's definitely a lot of the guys that are kicking butt right now are doing that, because
I love my scope. Yeah. I think I burnt my first transducer up.
It is interesting because
I think I burned it up.
Especially with this schedule that happened this past year, and not just on the Elite Series, but multiple, where there was a lot of tournaments won shallow. And it's interesting that you guys talk about that, but then, I'll just pivot the other way. There's a lot of people that won without scope, which was interesting. And it makes you think how much of it has to do with the schedule too, that if you go to Smith Mountain Lake in July, it's like a no shit. But if you go to the James or Albemarle Sound or the Mississippi River, it does balance out the field and what you can do to have success, which is hopefully organizations start understanding that when they start building their schedule to make it a little bit more diversified in where you go.
Right. Yeah, absolutely.
And I've been asking this question a lot here lately. If you're fishing a Clearwater fishery, you can still use an AquaView camera in practice.
Mm-hmm.
So even though we ban forward-facing sonar, I would still use it in practice if it was allowed. It's going to eliminate so much time finding fish.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
So how much, so yeah, you may not have to see it in the tournament if that's just not your thing, but it's still going to get used.
Right. I have another question too. And this is, you take it however you want on this one, but you're talking about fishing the opens in 2026 and moving that direction with Major League Fishing limiting forward-facing sonar, and it's going all the way down to the lower level almost. Do you think that might have kind of, swayed it a little bit, or, just on top of the payouts, on top of the goal, like you were saying, at least, the opens have a chance of being Bassmaster Angler and then going to Bassmaster Classic. But do you think a lot of the anglers are going to kind of waver on this thing that do love the cheater box?
Yeah, for me, it was definitely solely about the money thing. Like I said on Smith, I won without even catching a single fish on it. On the James, these past couple tournaments, I've done well. I've had multiple fish, on a chatterbait or on a swim jig that I never even attempted to look at. I grew up from when I started fishing in 2004 when I was little, all the way up to 2020 without it, so I feel like I have a good basis of, okay, I can compete at a very high level with forward-facing sonar, but at the same time, I've got that, basis of I can do it without it and still compete.
I always say you still got to find them to see them. You still have to know.
Oh yeah.
Bass movement and seasonal patterns. There's not just bass everywhere. Hey, I just dropped it and there's fish everywhere.
There's not bass everywhere, and it's constantly evolving. I mean, this is with the 10,000 people I talk to every week, the constant through line, whether it's bass guys, crappie guys, even saltwater guys, is they're starting to get wise. You hit fish with that cancer beam, it's not like day one. They're getting smarter. And so if you compound that out 4 or 5 years from now, are we going to see it to where you just have to turn, like you find them and then you just turn the pinger off and start fishing for them because they're too nervous, they're too gun shy? That's not unreasonable. I think that's where we're going. And you're going to start having to outthink the room with them.
Oh yeah. And I will say, the golden days of forward facing are over.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's gotten to the point now, especially on places like Smith, I'll throw it 20, 30 fish and maybe get 2 of them to bite, they're really smart, but if you're throwing the right thing, you know what's up and you're confident enough in it, you can continue to catch enough to get by. But it's not like it used to be where as soon as you put it on their head, they come up, smoke it, you got 25 pounds.
Yeah.
And I think in a couple of years, it's going to continue to get harder and harder with that. And eventually you're going to see the playing field level out between these shallow guys and these deep guys, even on traditionally, forward-facing sonar lakes that, it traditionally kicks everyone's butt. It's going to get so difficult to where the shallow guys are going to start showing back up.
Mm-hmm.
And, I thought one thing that was cool too was Keith Pochet talking about it. He was like, I like all these guys scoping out there because when I fish up on the bank, I got free reign here. Instead of 5 guys running down the same bank I'm running down, they're all out there and I got this whole thing to myself. So,
you said something else too earlier that I found very interesting because I've got a couple of smaller lakes that I grew up fishing down in the southwestern part of Virginia. And, we're talking 20-foot visibility. I mean, I could dive in and smile and you can count how many teeth I got missing, right? But, we from 20 foot down and, I found it very interesting. You talked about not going and looking for that ultra clear water. And, I've noticed, especially largemouth, speaking about largemouth, smallmouth and spots, they're meaner and dumber. But, those largemouth, they're used to sight fishing in that clear water. They're very used to inspecting things. And I mean, even seeing schools, during the summer, I love to go out there and fish for them. It was always very hard to get them to hit a minnow, at all because they're seeing it for so long in that ultra clear water. Used to be able to take and throw, some topwater baits, and I think that would break up the water even on a slick calm day, and they would bite that. Over the past 2 years, now that I've made a lot of content doing that, I've seen a lot more people doing that, and now it's hard as hell to go to those lakes. You'll watch 50 fish come up and just sit there underneath it. You're trying every, retrieve and rip. And so I think I heard some people down on Smith Lake in Alabama talking about that with spots too, that, they get conditioned to this stuff. And I think that's the thing. People equate it with Blockhead's comment of, spotlighting deer is pretty much 100% kill rate. And I can promise you it's not that.
Yeah. So. Yeah. I mean, I'll say on Smith Mountain anymore in the summer, I don't even have a jig head minnow tied on.
Yeah.
I don't even, because they don't eat it. They, only in the cooler months can I get them to eat it decently well, even then. But, I'm having to throw, your flukes, your risers, your Japanese little twitch baits. I mean, all this stuff that's extremely, versatile and different and, just to get a bite. And when I do get one, they lock down and they're hard to get the bite again. Whereas I used to be able to sit there and just, catch 20, 30 fish on a schooling spot. And it's just not that way anymore.
Yeah.
You were talking earlier, I remember going out with anglers back in the day and, they would use their sonar and they would use it for practice only. And then during the tournament, it'd be like, we got to cut it off, man. We're spooking the fish. And, you brought it up and we're probably going to get to that point with FF, forward-facing sonar to where, it's a pre-practice deal. Find the fish and then, cut it off maybe. I don't know.
What I'm having to do even right now is hit them from a long ways away.
Mhm.
You know, like when I was on the St. Lawrence, if they got within 50 feet of me, they
Gone.
you know, so I was having to set my distance at 120 feet out, make long bomb casts, and you know that way, by the time they did feel the pinging, it was too late. You know, but it's definitely already gotten to that point where, you know, then that's only going to get worse too. You know, so I might have to hit them at 120 feet the second I see them, or else they're going to go down. So, but yeah, I mean, I see it all throughout the country. You'll see one, and he'll just be swimming normal, all suspended, and all of a sudden just pew.
Yep.
And you're like, why did he do that? You know, and the next 10 you see will do the same thing.
And it also just comes down to, again, like we have these, we always like to keep things and silo it and say like we have to blame this for everything, and life is so complicated. It's never just one thing. And you look at this year where there's so many tournaments that are being won on different techniques, whether it's kayak, bass boat, or whatever, and you look at, we have an El Nino year. It's been raining a ton. The spinnerbait is back. Bluegill are really staying up shallow. 10 killer was one flipping and pitching pretty much like it. And this is because we had this right year. Yet last year, I think all the East Coast was in a drought and everything was gin clear. Everything was pushed offshore.
Yeah.
I did a poll on my channel. I think it was like the topwater bite has been kind of this year. Why? It's weird how this shit goes in cycles, and we just like to say like, oh, it's all the end of the world. It's like, no, it's going to rotate back. It really will.
Yeah, it comes back around.
Everything does. Everything comes back around.
Yeah.
You know.
All right, guys, before we leave here, Brody, real quick, got one more. It's the fall is right here. We're getting ready to hit it. Water temperature might have dropped a little bit this week around Central Virginia. Some cool mornings are showing up. Got a little taste. What's Brody throwing in the fall and on you can tell us any body of water really, but what's Brody's game plan for the fall, and maybe a little tidbit that help an angler.
Yeah, I mean, as far as Smith goes, you still got a lot of schooling fish out and about. You know, your schooling baits, your twitch baits, jackal riser, fluke, all can be really good. Usually when you get a good cold front, a buzz bait will start to play, especially, you know, the morning after it hits. That can be the best buzz bait bite all year round. And, you know, a little small crankbait to imitate some of those smaller threadfin shad that were born this spring, shad spawn that have now gotten in that 1 to 2 inch range. Downsize them, but you can also flip it and upsize and pick up a big old glide bait as well. You know, I feel like this time of year you got to play on each side of the spectrum. You got to either go really small or really big, because you know a lot of your bait fish that were born last spring are getting pretty big, and then a lot of your this year's spawn are still pretty small. You know, your bluegills are only about that big.
Right.
Same with your shad. So you know, not necessarily throwing those middle 4 to 5 inch baits, but either going 6+ or 3 inches, or sometimes even less.
All right, there you guys go. You heard it. We appreciate you all listening to tonight's episode of Basscast Radio. Before we go, any words from Geek and Thomas before we hit the road? Go for it, man.
Go fishing, man. You know, Brody just said time on the water matters. And if you want to be better, at even your local lake, go out there, spend time on the water.
Yep.
All right, Thomas, anything from you, my friend?
You guys know the deal. You guys either you know me, you hate me, you love me at this point. So go check me out if you want to.
All right, you heard it right there. Guys, I appreciate you listening to tonight's episode of Basscast Radio. Brody, really appreciate you coming on and talking with us. Real quick, plug your social media, where you can be found, where people can follow you, and maybe reach out even a potential sponsor if they'd like to be a part of that.
Yeah. So Bass Brody 777 is my Instagram. Bass Brody is my TikTok. You know, just BASS and then my name. And you know, thanks to Kistler Rods, you know, Angler's Choice, they've both been supporting me. Nitro Boats. Yeah, and any other sponsors watching, I have plenty of availability for sponsorship next year. So, you know, if you need to reach me, either send me a DM or, you know, just on Instagram or TikTok.
All right, you heard it right there, guys. Really appreciate, like I said, all of you listening. We'll be back next week with another great episode of Bass Cast Radio. We got some more great guests lined up. It's crazy. You get one guest and like 4 or 5 show up, and then me and Thomas will talk for about 3 or 4 episodes, and then it'd be like 12 more guests who want to show up. So we got a bunch of guests lined up for the next couple of episodes, so we hope you like that. Have a great week, everyone. Be safe while you're out there on the water. Always wear your life jackets. And goodbye, everybody.